Peace. This is Wise for Wise Words Media back at y'all for another round. And football fans, we are officially underway. I mean, as Michael Kay put it, the greatest Thursday of the year, which is that first football Thursday that kicks off the football season, went down yesterday, and it felt like a holiday, man. For me, this is a holiday, man, for real. That first Thursday, it feels like Christmas Eve when you was little. And that first football Sunday coming up in a couple days, that feels like Christmas Day. You know, those when you were younger, even, for those who celebrated and strong to this day, it's two of the most anticipated days of the year. So on this Football Friday, I'm going to run down through each division and who I think is going to win each division. So let's start with the division that my football giants play in, and that's the NFC East. Who will win the NFC East? See, the NFC East is the most competitive division in all of sports in North America. Why? Because the NFC East, when one team does good, they all do good. Like the Cowboys started doing good first. Then the Eagles said, you know what, we can match that. Next thing you know, the Giants get rid of Gettleman, Joe Judge, bring in Joe Shane, Brian Dable, what's the name, my man Wink Martindale, and forget it. These dudes now are ultra competitive. And that division, when they're all doing good, they all do good. But when when one does bad, miraculously, they all do bad. It's always a race to the top or a race to the bottom. It's always the NFC East, the NFC Least, or the NFC Beast. And we're currently in beast mode. And the team I give it to will be the Philadelphia Eagles. See, I don't just want to give it to them that quickly because the NFC East, as I said, highly competitive. That division has not had back-to-back winners of that division in over 17 years. Think about that. That's crazy. In 17 years, we've never seen back-to-back NFC East champions. Nobody wins that division back-to-back years. It hasn't been done since like 05, 06 or something like that. So the NFC East, I will give to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they break that cycle and they go on to win the NFC East this year. Moving on to, let's go to the NFC North. I think for the North, and listen, I know people are excited for this young Detroit Lions team, and how could you not be, especially after they went on the road and spoiled the homecoming ring ceremony of the Kansas City Chiefs. But I don't believe in Detroit taking that division just yet. I think they can make the wild card. I think they'll be a wild card team. But I still think that division is going to be the Minnesota Vikings division. I feel that the camaraderie between what's his name, Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson plus Hawkinson, I think that's the best combination that you have in that division. Jared Goff, he has turned things around, man. Jared Goff has turned his career around. He's doing great things out there in in Detroit. But I still think this division is going to be owned by the Vikings this year. And it's going to be very competitive with them in Detroit. But I'm going with Vikings. Now, moving west. The NFC West, I really don't think that's much of a debate. I think the San Francisco 49ers have one of the top 5-6 teams in the league. And that I think will be easily won by San Fran. And we can move right along to the NFC South, and I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. The Saints have a major upgrade in the quarterback position in Derek Carr. Derek Carr is one of those, he's one of those guys that he's not in the top 10, like he's not in that elite class, but he's like right outside of it, you know? Like he's where you find your guys like Dak Prescott, you know? He's like one of those guys, where he's not elite level, but he's like right at the cusp of becoming it. And he's going to have a ton of weapons out there in New Orleans. We know from his history with the Raiders, he is not shy throwing the ball. He has a very good vision for the field. He sees the field very well. He feeds his targets, equally distributes throughout his targets, and he likes to mix up that play action, turn into a screen pass, and you got a monster in Dalvin Cook there that could do that very well. I mean, not Dalvin Cook. Alvin Kamara. You got Alvin Kamara that he's a monster on the screen pass. But he's got weapons like Chris Olave, and Michael Thomas is going to be one of the biggest boom or bust players this season because he has all the skill in the world. He has top 5 receiver in the league talent, but he just it seemed like he wasn't motivated because of the way that the Saints were ran after they let go of Sean Payton and Drew Brees retired. He seemed like he wanted his way out of there, but I think now, by bringing in a reputable quarterback that does very good feeding his targets, and now you got a Chris Olave that will also garner attention, I think Michael Thomas has an opportunity to have a breakout year this year. So I have the Saints winning that division. So NFC, got Philly, San Fran, Saints, and Minnesota. Now, moving on to the AFC. The AFC, will start with the AFC East, where there's been a lot of attention due to the high-profile move, that splash that came into the New York Jets locker room and Aaron Rodgers. That has drawn a lot of attention. They've also put a lot of attention on their backs, talking about, CJ talking about they're going to be one of the best defensive groups of all time. This unit is going to rival, he said, the 85 Bears and the Legion of Boom. So, Aaron Rodgers taking a page out of Rex Ryan's book, calling it Jet Life Stadium. So we'll see, but I'm not convinced. The talking sounds good, but I'm not convinced. I still think the class of the division is going to be Buffalo. I feel Buffalo's, the NFL, you only got 17 weeks to get it together. 18, but 17 games to get it together. And things could get ugly in a hurry in the NFL. So I feel that the fact that they don't have the camaraderie yet, and that it's going to be a work in progress, and you got a team in Buffalo who's been together. That core has been together for the past few years, and they're hungry, and they want to prove the world wrong for doubting them. So I think Buffalo remains the class of this division, and they'll win the division yet again. Now, taking things to the AFC North. The AFC North, as much as I love Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, I think Cincinnati still will will still hold on to being the top seed of that division. They'll win the division because they have had, you saw last year, they spent a lot of money on that offensive line, and the offensive line had some issues in the beginning of the year. But towards the end of the year, you saw that offensive line come together, and now with the whole year under their belt, a whole season of training camp under their belt, I think that offensive line is going to be amongst the very best in the league. And I feel that they are going to, it's a very loaded division, a tough division. You got the Browns, who also have Deshaun Watson for a whole season now. It's going to make for a very, very competitive division. And you know Mike Tomlin always has his Steelers prepared. So it's going to be a tough division, but I still have the Bengals coming out of that division. And what will be one of the most competitive divisions. Taking things down south to the AFC South, I feel that there is one team that is very, very interesting to me, and that is the Titans. The Tennessee Titans, with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, that's the one piece I think that they really needed. They need to add some additional pieces on defense, but DeAndre Hopkins is that piece that was missing on offense. They used Derrick Henry to the ground, which is why towards the end of the year, Henry broke down, and they had no receivers at all. Now, you're going to have DeAndre Hopkins, no drop hop, one of the best wide receivers in the league, who is a red zone danger. He is going to be, if you think about those Titans that won the division a couple years back, they had that deadly 1-2 punch of Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown before Brown went to Philly. And they were one of the most terrifying teams in the red zone, because they could either give it to Derrick Henry to bulldozer his way, which most of the time they did, or they used the play action, act like Henry was going to run in, and then play action pass, and A.J. Brown was usually there for the touchdown. So they're going to run that back. You're going to see a lot of that again, but now with DeAndre Hopkins, so the Titans are going to be dangerous this year. But I still, with all that said, I still slightly edge the Jacksonville Jaguars to take that division because of the emergence of Trevor Lawrence. You have an amazing coaching system by Coach, what's his name, that he coached the Philadelphia Eagles to their very first Super Bowl. And, you know, as much as I hate Philly, I have to respect him. Pardon me, the name is escaping me at the moment. But one of the best, he's Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, exceptional, tremendous coach, Doug Peterson. He turned Philly around, and you've seen he's doing the same thing with Jacksonville. Under him, they look like night and day from the Urban Meyer days. So Trevor Lawrence has taken his game to another level. They got Travis Etienne there, who is Trevor Lawrence's college colleague, and they did tremendous things out there in college in Clemson. And that team is coming together. They're a young, tough team. They gave Kansas City their toughest game last year in the playoffs. So they're going to remember that. They're going to make note of that, and they're going to come back tough and stronger than ever. So I got Jacksonville winning that division. And last but not least, speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, the AFC West, I have the Los Angeles Chargers winning that division. And yes, I know the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is not just because of last night, because last night was an outlier. Last night there was no Travis Kelce, so you can't expect that team to play the way that they usually play. That has no bearing on what I'm about to say and what I said regarding who wins the division, which is the Chargers. I think the Chargers this year, they have a new offensive coordinator. And with this offensive coordinator, as we've seen he did with Dallas, it's a very pass-heavy system, which is perfect for them because Austin Eckler has already made reference that he's already went to the front office that he does not want to have that same workload, that same usage that he had these past years. And under Kellen Moore, these Chargers are going to be passing that ball a lot. The Chargers last year, I had them winning the division, and I think they could have won the division. The problem was they were hampered with injuries. And those injuries, a lot of those injuries from last year were significant, big time injuries. It seems like every year there's that team that is hampered with injury after injury. We've seen it in San Fran. It's every year it seems like there's that one team. Last year was the Chargers. The Chargers had almost all of their major players injured. Keenan Allen missed significant amount of time, weeks, because of his injury, lower leg injury. You've had guys like their number one, their big left tackle, who's one of the top 5, one of the best left tackles in the whole entire NFL, and that's Rashawn Slater. Slater was out for the year last season. He went out early, like week 3, 4. He went out early, so Rashawn Slater was tremendously missed, and that made for Justin Herbert having a hard time getting his passes on because he had no protection, nobody blocking. But with now a healthy Rashawn Slater, healthy Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, also defensively, they had a lot of injuries defensively. You had Bosa that was injured. You had Darwin James that was injured. You had their big off-season acquisition, J.C. Jackson, who was a huge off-season splash that they got from the Patriots, their corner. He was out for the season. So you got J.C. Jackson back, Darwin James back, Khalil Mack running it back with the Chargers. You got Bosa running it back with the Chargers. And they also went and picked up, which I thought was a huge pickup that nobody's really talking about, and that's Eric Kendricks from the Minnesota Vikings. Eric Kendricks was a terror. He was like the best player on the Vikings defensively. He was a straight terror. And now the Chargers have Eric Kendricks. That is a massive move. So when you look at all 3 lines, when you look at the front line, you got Mack, Khalil Mack, you got Bosa. Then at linebacking, you got Kendricks. Then you got Darwin James, J.C. Jackson in the secondary. The Chargers defense is going to be a problem this year. So I definitely have the Chargers winning the division. And that's my AFC picks. I got the Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chargers winning their divisions. So what do you say? Who do you have winning these divisions? Do you agree with me? Disagree? Drop some bars. Let's build. I'm Waz for Waz Words Media. Peace.